have always admired anyone who can make a piece of artwork out of decorating a cake.
Welcome to Hershberger's Miracle Homestead. This episode we are making a yummy 3-layer yellow cake with chocolate frosting. In the Golden Thought we'll mention one way we can glorify God. Hope you enjoy.
Hi and welcome to the kitchen action. I am Martha and we will be making a yellow 3-layer cake. And between the layers and smothered and covered in this cake will be chocolate icing. But we'll be doing the cake right now. So let me bring you down to show you the ingredients and then we'll get started. The recipe calls for butter, granulated sugar, egg yolk, the whole egg, and here's egg white from the egg yolk. So I'll just set this back here. We need soda, baking powder, salt, pure vanilla extract, all-purpose flour, milk, and sour cream. To start out with, we will put the butter and the sugar. Start it slow till it incorporates a little bit, otherwise we'll have sugar spilling out. And then let that go for, well, I usually set the timer 5 minutes. Here, I'm going to show you what it looks like now. Just starting to mix up. It looks like that. Then I will show you how it looks after it beats for 5 minutes. Set this over to the side. The milk and sour cream, you want to put the two together. You can whisk this together, or I just usually give it a light mix. When the time is right, we will add it along with the flour. When we went to the market, we'd make multiple batches, and then we put 2.5 cups of batter in a pan. And we're keeping that up, the 2.5 cups of batter, but it's actually a little bit more than one recipe. So I'm doing 1.5 batches. That'll give us 4 layers, and that'll give us 1 layer that we can enjoy ourselves. And we still do it old-fashioned style. We grease it with Crisco and then put the liner in. And you may wonder what this is behind the egg whites I put back here. I will be putting sourdough bread together later on. And that is the sourdough starter. It was in the refrigerator, so I have it out now that it can get room temperature. Well, I think that gets it until the timer goes, and that is mixed. Okie dokie, we are ready to add the eggs. I will start out with the whole eggs. Oh, I remembered, but barely. So this is how this looks now. Nice and creamy. Alrighty, we'll add them one at a time. And then the egg yolks. And these yolks just drives that yellow color home. Okay, get everything good scraped down. Alright, give that just a little quick whip. And we will add the soda, salt, baking powder, and vanilla. And give that a mix. And then we will add flour, part of the flour. Give that a mix. And then we'll add part of the sour cream and milk mixture.
The video stopped recording, so alternate adding the flour and milk mixture, and then scrape down the bowl, the sides and the bottom, and give a final mix.
Okay, so move our pans over here. We'll flour them up. Sprinkle some in there and just roll it around. And then roll it so it gets the edge too. Now you do not want to bake it in all that loose flour, so just tap it on the edge and it'll drop out. And there you go. I'll do it 3 more times. Okay, dump. I don't know if you'll be able to see the flour dump out or not. Okay, double check. I think it's 2 1/3 cup. Good thing I double checked. This is a lower oven, convection bake, 340, and start. Alrighty, it is hot, ready for the cakes. For those of you learning to bake, another way you can check it is with the toothpick test. Put your toothpick in and bring it out. If it's clean, you know the cake is done. And then another sign of it being done is it's pulling away from the edge. So that is pulling away from the edge, which means it's done. Usually let the cakes cool for 5 minutes or so before I take them out of the pan. We are ready to dump the cakes with a table knife. Just run it across the edge to make sure everything's loosened at the edge. And one by one, flip them over. Peel the paper off. Alright, I'm going to let these cool completely, and then when they're completely cooled, I will wrap them and wait to actually ice it till tomorrow. Howdy folks, we're back in the kitchen to ice the yellow cake. And here we have the chocolate frosting. I did record making it, however, it will not be a part of this video, but the recipe will be in the description box below, and in the future we'll be putting that recipe out as a video also. A Lazy Susan is very nice to have. Now this, I usually cut it kind of domes up, so I just cut the middle part off where it domes up so it's flat in the center of the cake. You can use the saran wrap to kind of pick it up and gently go under the cake. And scrape that off, plus any crumbs. We will be putting the crumb coat on here, and then come back to put the final coat on. And we have found that the frosting, it can be a little bit soft to start out with if it hadn't been refrigerated. So we like to put a layer on, then put it in the freezer a little bit for 10 or 15 minutes and let that set up a little bit. So the layer of frosting here on the cake, you have to remember it's also the layer of frosting that'll be between layers. So you want to have it a little bit thick. It's not a crumb coat. Now here on the side, this is a crumb coat, so just make so that the cake is lightly covered with icing to seal in the crumbs. And then we'll come back and do the final icing on it. I like to make sure it gets covered all the way down to the board, the cake board. And if you don't have a cake board, you can just take a piece of cardboard, cut it out, put foil over it, and that'll work as well. Alright, level this off at the edge. Alrighty, I'm going to put this in the freezer for 10 or 15 minutes and we'll be back for the next layer. We're back here for the second layer. The same thing on the middle layer as the bottom layer. You want to put enough icing on, knowing that it's the layer of icing in the cake. And then lightly coat the sides for the crumb coat. A little gap between, you want to push that the icing fills in that gap. Okay, just run your knife over everything to make it even. Now level the edge off. The third layer is ready to go on. Now the frosting that goes on the top is the crumb layer, so don't have it a thick layer. All we're looking for now is to seal it in. Have the crumbs all sealed in so it's easier to do the final frosting of the cake. All right, back in the freezer it goes. Okay, we're ready to finish up this cake. Now the final, here's where we smother and cover the cake with frosting. We have 3 different depths of edges, and I use the deepest. Just start in the middle, place it in the cake, and go around. There we go. The little chocolate around the edging, you don't have to worry about that because it'll get covered up with the icing. So here we have it. A yellow layer cake with chocolate icing. I will not put chocolate icing over everything because Buddy shouldn't have chocolate. Here we have yellow cake for Buddy that has no chocolate icing on it. And here we have, I made 2 little layers of yellow cake with the chocolate icing so you can see how that looks.
We hope you've enjoyed the making of this 3-layer yellow cake with chocolate icing, and now stay tuned for the golden thought.
Our brother Buddy was brain damaged at birth. He's epileptic and nonverbal. He's always been a very special part of our family. We included him in the golden thought as a way of encouraging anyone who has a special needs person in their life.
Hi, and welcome to the golden thought of this episode. I am Martha, and I'm here with my very, very special twin brother Marvin, better known as Buddy. And the golden thought for today: God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in Him. There's a powerful message in this statement. John Piper penned these words, and Dorothy and I are in charge of changing the marquee at church. And this is what we put on the marquee this week on the one side. And often they speak to us before we ever put them up on the board. And when we are satisfied in Jesus, the joy and the pleasure that God can get from that, God is most glorified when we are satisfied in Him. Even though we had plans and dreams that may have never materialized, because God had other plans for us, and yet to see us satisfied in Him brings God a lot of pleasure, and He can be glorified. So again, God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in Him. We thank you for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you have, we just ask you to like it, share it, and subscribe. And if you click on the notification bell, it will notify you whenever we put out new videos. So with that, we thank you, and God bless.